MicroStrategy. And joining us is the founder and executive chairman, Michael Saylor, along with our own Morgan Brennan. Michael, it's always good to have you. So you don't think you have enough exposure? You have, what, 158,000 Bitcoin holdings in MicroStrategy? You want more?
You can never have too much Bitcoin. We're big Bitcoin bulls. Our thesis is that Bitcoin is digital property, but without the risks and liabilities of commercial real estate. It's a digital commodity without the risks and the liabilities of gold. It's a digital tech investment without the risks and the liabilities of big tech. And so we're bullish.
You know, it's funny, people sometimes forget that you're like an enterprise software company, and I noticed that you're doing some new partnerships on AI with Microsoft, and I wonder if that kind of good news gets overshadowed, or any kind of news about your fundamental business gets overshadowed by just being a proxy for Bitcoin.
We're really excited about our partnership with Microsoft and AI. We're the first BI company to put AI into our product line, and it provides great artificial intelligence boost to our business intelligence business. We're going to use it to grow the business by acquiring new customers, and also it's accelerating cloud adoption within our customer base.
Yeah, Michael, it's Morgan, and of course that business also helps enable you to buy more Bitcoin. The fact that we have seen Bitcoin rally as strongly as it has over the past month, I mean, the SEC seems likely to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF after that key court loss. Does the introduction of an ETF help or hurt investor appetite for MicroStrategy specifically?
Well, I think it's going to help. It's going to accelerate adoption, and it's also going to accelerate institutional awareness and education efforts of Wall Street to teach the 99% of the investors that don't know about Bitcoin what it's all about. MicroStrategy is a differentiated offering. I think spot Bitcoin ETF is a great thing for investors, but we don't charge a fee. We use intelligent leverage, and we can generate a tax-deferred Bitcoin premium for our investors. So for people that are really long-term bulls on Bitcoin, we represent a pretty attractive option or alternative to a spot Bitcoin ETF.
Sounds like you think MicroStrategy as a stock is going to continue to command a Bitcoin-related premium then.
Well, if you're not charging a fee and you're generating a premium and you're holding it over the long term, then one would think that it'll be valued at a premium versus the underlying asset.
Michael, Bob Pisani here. Bitcoin is going to be having a halving next year. That's a rare event. Can you sort of educate the viewers on what happens when that occurs and what, if any, effect that'll have on Bitcoin's price?
Well, most of the natural sellers of Bitcoin in the market right now are Bitcoin miners, and they have to sell to pay their electricity bill and their capital cost and retire their debt. That's about $1 billion a month worth of selling into the market. The protocol forces that to be cut in half as of about next April, late April. So you're going to see $12 billion of natural selling per year converted into $6 billion of natural selling a year, at the same time as things like spot Bitcoin ETFs increase the demand for Bitcoin. So that's why all of us are fairly bullish over the next 12 months. Demand's going to increase, supply is going to contract, and this is fairly unprecedented in the history of Wall Street.
Just to follow up on the Bitcoin ETF, can you sort of give us a sense of when you think, presumably you think the SEC is going to be forced to approve this? Can you give us a time scale on when this might happen?
Well, I think the Bloomberg analysts that cover this, they're of the opinion that it's highly likely to happen by early January. I think it'll happen when it happens. But long term, I guess the most important point to be made is institutions are adopting Bitcoin. It's highly likely that it will happen, if not by first quarter of next year, at some point in the coming 12 months. And we know the halving is coming. So if you've got a 12-month to 48-month time horizon, this is a pretty ideal entry point into the asset.
Michael, I want to ask you about another regulatory change that's afoot. The Financial Accounting Standards Board voted unanimously to adopt a new standard that's going to require businesses to use fair value accounting for Bitcoin and other crypto assets. This could be meaningful for MicroStrategy. You just reported a loss, an impairment loss. tied to Bitcoin in your earnings last night. I think that number is now ballooned to more than $2 billion in impairment losses since you started holding Bitcoin on your balance sheet. Expecting more guidelines before the end of this year and then an implementation in 2025. What does this mean for MicroStrategy? What does this mean for companies more broadly? Does it make it more attractive to start to hold Bitcoin?
Long term, this is going to open the door for corporations to adopt Bitcoin as a treasury asset and create shareholder value with their balance sheets. I mean, the big dilemma in the market today is the Magnificent Seven. 7 companies are generating all the shareholder returns, and 7,000 companies are struggling to create shareholder value. MicroStrategy's secret is we're leveraging our balance sheet as well as our P&L. We've got more than $5 billion of assets on our balance sheet, and Bitcoin is growing at 3 or 4 times the cost of capital. So imagine what happens if other companies are able to use their balance sheets as assets instead of liabilities. Right now, the existing accounting, it favors using credit and sovereign debt, and the after-tax yield of credit isn't keeping up with cost of capital, and the result is most corporations pursue dilutive strategies of acquisitions, share buybacks, dividends, which are taxable, and they can't really hold billions and billions of dollars of capital and beat the cost of capital and generate shareholder returns. So this FASB accounting allows you to mark up and down the asset. It allows you to recognize investor gains. You know, if Berkshire Hathaway didn't have Apple, it wouldn't be a winning stock, but it's not practical for 1,000 companies to hold Apple stock as a treasury reserve asset. It is practical for them to start buying Bitcoin, and FASB's accounting opens the door for that.
But you know, they're just so, I know you're not a stranger to some of the Bitcoin criticisms, but Michael, even lately, we're seeing Sam Bankman-Fried on trial for fraud, of course. You're seeing Israel cracking down on some Binance accounts related to Hamas. I mean, there are still bad and dark applications of this cryptocurrency. And I wonder if you just think institutional investors are done. They think of it as a method for terrorist financing or just for fraud.
I think that the liabilities are the early crypto cowboys, the crypto tokens, the unregistered securities, the unreliable crypto custodians. For the industry to move to the next level, we need to migrate to adult supervision. We're going to need big banks to become the crypto custodians. We're going to need Wall Street to take a role. And we need to rationalize away from the 100,000 crypto tokens, you know, yo-yo coins that people are manipulating, to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an asset without an issuer. It is the one universally recognized protocol that's a commodity in the space. So when banks on Wall Street and responsible custodians are managing Bitcoin and the industry takes its eyes away from all of the shiny little tokens that have distracted and demolished shareholder value, I think the industry moves to the next level and we 10x from here.
Michael Saylor, thanks for coming on to talk about it. Always with the bull
thanks
case.
for having me.